A vista into a world of wondrous ideas, signifying man's achievement, a step into the future with predictions of constructive things to come.
Enter a make-believe world spanning some 27,000 acres and brought to life by cutting-edge technology. What was once swampland now boasts the world's largest theme park. The ride technology ranges from space-age centrifuges to enhanced motion vehicles powered by 3,000 psi of hydraulic pressure. And hundreds of audio animatronics live through the power of pneumatics, hydraulics, and electrical systems.
Our technology in the field of robotics really is evolutionary, beginning 40 years ago, and continues today building on that.
Walt Disney World is made up of 4 separate theme parks, each with its own innovations. The first, the 107-acre Magic Kingdom, was born in secrecy when Disney purchased thousands of acres of land anonymously. The Magic Kingdom conceals complex tunnels that are the invisible arteries of a park. Transportation, costuming, computer controls, and even a high-speed garbage collection system are all hidden 14 feet below ground. Epcot, which is 3 times the size of the Magic Kingdom, is a never-ending World's Fair, a tribute to science, technology, and world culture. At the entrance soars the 18-story tall Spaceship Earth, a 16 million pound geodesic sphere glittering with 11,000 facets. A new attraction called Soarin' gives visitors the sights, smells, and best of all, the feel of hang gliding over California. And at the end of every day, the Illumination Show unleashes propane flames and over 1,000 computer-timed fireworks and sends a 350,000-pound globe spinning across the park's central lagoon.
That particular sequence of pyrotechnic effects had never been attempted before.
Just a few miles away, Disney MGM Studios is a salute to the golden days of Hollywood. The Twilight Zone Tower of Terror is a haunted hotel with one extremely unpredictable elevator. Thanks to an advanced T4 computer program, each lurching journey is completely different.
The computer will actually decide for you, and associated with that is not only is the motion changed, but all the show elements are changed.
The Lights, Motors, Action Extreme Stunt Show sends lightweight, high-speed cars spinning 540 degrees and sailing off ramps both forward and backward. The newest park, the 500-acre Disney's Animal Kingdom, is almost 5 times the size of the Magic Kingdom. Disney planted 4 million plants to turn a Central Florida cow pasture into an African savanna. And the park's central icon has a very unusual structural support, an oil rig. On the 100-acre safari ride, African animals look like they're wandering free.
In fact, it is a show set. It's a series of scenes that have been constructed through the manipulation of the landscape environment.
Disney's Animal Kingdom is also home to Expedition Everest. At nearly 200 feet tall, it towers over Disney's other mountains, Thunder, Space, and Splash, and is home to a high-tech, high-speed roller coaster. The 4 parks are all part of this megaplex of a resort. Twice the size of Manhattan, it was the final vision and crowning achievement of a man who spent more than 40 years pushing the limits of technology to create entertainment magic. Walt Disney. Born in 1901, Walter Elias Disney spent his youth in Missouri. From an early age, Walt wanted to be a cartoonist, and by his 20s, he had his own Hollywood animation studio. His partner was his brother Roy, who ran the business side of the operation. From the very beginning, Walt used cutting-edge technology to create more compelling stories. In 1928, he produced Steamboat Willie, the world's first animated talkie. In 1932, he dazzled audiences with Flowers and Trees, the world's first cartoon in Technicolor, and the first to win an Oscar. And with Snow White, he proved that animation was strong enough to carry a feature-length film.
I said, how do you do?
How do you do what?
He was about creating ever increasingly immersive stories. So he took storybooks and created animated films, and in each of those animated films, he continued to push innovative ways to increase the immersion into those films. So stereo sound, color, feature length.
He always hired the best, and Walt was always pushing them to do more and more and plus it, as they said, you know. Plus it in the way that the scenes are done and the way the animation moves, and they did better work than they thought they were capable of.
He may have been an artist, but Disney thought like an engineer. When he wanted to create a greater depth of field in his animated films, and thus a greater sense of realism, he worked with his staff to come up with a solution. In just a few months, they invented and patented a sophisticated animation camera called the multiplane camera.
The individual pieces of artwork are stacked certain distances apart depending how deep you want the scene to look, and the camera is placed above, and the pieces of artwork are moved in towards the camera to simulate the camera panning through dimensional space.
Walt's next leap in storytelling took him out of the animator studio and into a California orange grove. In the early 1940s, as he sat on a dirty park bench and watched his daughters ride a carousel, Walt had an idea.
There should be something built, some kind of an amusement enterprise built where that the parents and the children could have fun together.
He decided to create a place unlike anything the world had ever seen. In 1953, he purchased 160 acres near Anaheim, California, and set about building the world's first theme park. He gathered up some of his most creative talent and dubbed them Imagineers.
On our first television program, we showed you a blueprint for a dream. Well, this is the blueprint, and the dream is Disneyland.
Walt decided early on that the park's various attractions should radiate outward from a convenient central hub. Guests would be drawn to the hub by a dramatic landmark. And given the success of Disney's first feature-length animated film, Snow White, the landmark had to be a castle. This soaring castle would be surrounded by rides themed to Disney movies. Park construction began July 21st, 1954 at a feverish pace.
The early days of the construction of Disneyland seemed sort of like a heartless task. It was nothing but a bunch of orange trees coming down and dirt and bulldozers and chaos and construction equipment and cement trucks. I've never seen so much madness in my life.
The park opened less than 1 year later with all the fanfare Walt Disney could muster. But it was far from his greatest premiere.
It was a disaster. In the first place, Walt could control everything except the weather. And it was one of the hottest days of the year in Anaheim. So the women's spiked heels were sinking into the freshly laid asphalt. They ran out of soft drinks. There were not enough drinking fountains. The rides broke down. Some smart fella counterfeited about 10,000 tickets. And so the place was jammed and it was a mess.
And the next day it was like, oh my goodness, we have to go down there again. Everything's broken. We're going to have to take it apart. We're going to have to fix it. And we were in for a long summer.
The summer wasn't that long. After a few weeks of ironing out the kinks, Walt's new park became a smash hit. Every day, thousands of people came to see mechanical animals lurking in the jungle, Dumbos that really flew, and a 5/8 scale Main Street that felt like the real thing. Once again, Walt had succeeded in combining technology with great storytelling.
The theme park is the first experience wherein the audience can actually walk through the frame into the story and participate in that story in a way that was entirely unique. It went from being a passive experience to an active experience.
Disneyland was an unqualified success. But Walt still wasn't satisfied. Outside the gates of his carefully constructed make-believe world, a disorganized mass of hotels, motor courts, and diners sprang up, breaking the Disney magic. And inside, practical concerns like garbage collection and employee transportation also spoiled the illusion. Walt knew he could do better. And he vowed to. It was 1964, and something strange was going on in the central part of Florida. Large parcels of useless swampland near the tiny town of Orlando were being bought up, but nobody knew why, or by whom.
There was a lot of speculation in the Central Florida area as to who was purchasing that much land, why would they be doing it.
Floridians may have been in the dark, but out in California, Walt Disney knew exactly what was going on. In a cloak and dagger mission rivaling the best spy novels, he was acquiring land for a massive new theme park that would dwarf Disneyland.
Walt Disney's name was pretty well known to the general public, and certainly if it had been released that Walt was purchasing that much property here in Florida, well, that's certainly going to change the price tag.
Walt chose Orlando because it offered year-round good weather, easy access to major roads, and thousands of acres of land at only $180 an acre. Using false company names like Tomahawk Properties and Latin American Development, Walt and his representatives shuttled in and out of Central Florida, carefully covering their tracks.
He hired attorney Bob Foster to, not under the Disney name, come down and acquire much of the land. Bob would always return to California, traveling through different airports along the way.
Finally, in the fall of 1965, the Orlando newspaper got the scoop. "We Say It's Disney" screamed a huge headline. Neighboring swampland immediately shot up to $1,000 an acre. The Florida Project, all 27,443 acres of it, was out in the open. At a hastily arranged press conference, along with the governor of Florida, Walt announced the huge undertaking. He wasn't just building an East Coast Disneyland. He was creating an entire Disney World, his most ambitious and technologically innovative enterprise ever. But the project almost died before the first shovelful of earth was turned. Coming up, Walt's dream is put on hold, while the Imagineers grapple with whether to press on in the face of an unforeseen crisis. Due to the success of Disneyland and Walt Disney World, more Disney destinations were built in Paris, Tokyo, and Hong Kong. Modern Marvels, Walt Disney World will return in a moment. In 1966, Walt Disney launched the biggest project of his career, a massive theme park situated in the middle of 27,000 acres in Central Florida.
Well, as you can see on this master plan, the theme park and all the other tourist facilities fill just one small area of our enormous Florida project.
Walt envisioned several theme parks, hotels, golf courses, and thousands of acres left in their natural state. His dreams were every bit as big as the acreage he had purchased. But he'd never see these dreams completed. On December 15, 1966, Walt Disney died from cancer.